Hello again. Let's get you the very latest on this moving story. So here's what we know. President Cyril Ramaphosa, along with leaders from Comoros, Zambia and Senegal, have arrived in Kiev, and they are part of an Africa peacekeeping mission. They will be in Ukraine for a day, and then they will head on over also to Russia to hold talks with President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine as well as Vladimir Putin of Russia. However, there has been a complication to the mix as the President's Protection Services were stuck on a chartered plane from South Africa in Poland, and that includes a media contingency that is also stuck on that plane. Newzroom Afrika's Govan Whittles is one of the media personnel that is stuck on the plane. And Govan, you are standing by, connection permitting, to tell us what is happening at this hour.
Good afternoon, Dudu. Well, we were supposed to go to another Polish city, Warsaw, just south of the country, closer to the border with Ukraine. From there, we were under the impression that we may leave to go to St. Petersburg, but that's just not going to happen. Message coming through the PA system a short while ago saying that they're now going to organize buses to take us off this plane, try to organize accommodation right here in Warsaw. It's just another delay, I'm afraid. And as of this moment, we're obviously missing the talks that are happening in Kyiv. We've seen reports that the president was taken to his hotel after the air raid siren was sounded in Kyiv. We understand the all clear has now been given in the city. It's been pointed out that it's highly unusual for air raid sirens to be sounded during the day, raising further suspicion of why this threat may have happened during the visit by the South African president and other heads of states from African countries, the representatives of those who weren't able to make it. While there's uncertainty around what will happen to us here on the plane, there's also mounting speculation over the sequence of events that have unfolded since we took off from Johannesburg, from OR Tambo after leaving from Batutua Air Force Base. The circling of the plane before entering Italian airspace after permits had already been secured and then requested once again, also politics at play. We haven't had any commentary from the presidency other than them expressing concern at what they believe could be deliberate misinformation about bombings in Kyiv, while the South African president and other heads of peace mission, they haven't commented on the situation here, only describing it as unfortunate. We do hope to hear from the delegation that is in Kyiv. The president of South Africa is due to address a press conference alongside, at this point, not clear when those talks will be taking place, but we do know that they're also expected to undertake a long journey back to Poland before flying to Russia to complete the second leg of the trip, which is essentially a talk with the Russian President, Vladimir Putin. Of course, South Africa set out their agenda for this peace mission, but it certainly is being overshadowed by the traveling arrangements and what appears to be the frustration of the delegations that are trying to reach their various points in Ukraine and Russia.
Govan, where is the Presidential Protection Service personnel? Are they on that plane with you? Yes,
they're here. There are about over 100 of the Presidential Protection Services here, about 20 journalists. We can't show you their faces. They've requested that, as far back as Pretoria, but we're at essentially the back of the Airbus, which belongs to SAA, that was chartered for this trip, and they've taken up the cabins ahead of us, equally frustrated at this point. We left Johannesburg the day before yesterday. We boarded the flight just before 10 p.m. We were all at the airport from 7 p.m. And before that, there were multiple false starts to this trip. So everyone here has been trying to arrange for this to go ahead for at least a week. So everyone here is understandably frustrated, including some of the crew from SAA. At this point, we were disappointed to learn that we're not going to take off after The doors had been cross-checked. People had buckled their safety belts, and the pilot said there was only one more door to close before we would take off. Another announcement coming on that won't happen, that we'll likely spend the night here in Warsaw. Of course, we know that they're unlikely to offload their weapons, which has been a point of contention for the Polish authorities, but it appears to be about more than that at this point. Although we can't say what's really behind these delays, as we haven't had definitive answers. Yesterday, we received a briefing from the head of the Presidential Protection Services. We hope to get another one today, hopefully later on, once it's clearer whether we will disembark from this plane. We've been here about 24 hours now, 24 hours since we've landed in Poland, and been on this tarmac at the Chopin International Airport in Warsaw. So, not sure how many more hours it'll be before we get to leave here, hopefully to the hotel to freshen up. And then, if we're able to arrange everything, we'll make our way to St. Petersburg in Russia.
Govan Whittles, in all your years of reporting, has something like this one ever happened too? You also spoke to the captain of that flight. And what did he tell you? Has something like this ever happened in his years of flying since the 80s?
Well, no. This would be a first for me. The captain also saying that this would be a first for him. Certainly the longest period of time he's been stuck on a plane, not being allowed to disembark. But comparatively, you consider that on the plane are a number of security officers, guys that have spent a lot of time traveling around the world, not only securing the president, but going on different missions. Their experience is quite different from ours. And the fact that we're still stuck inside a SAA Airbus with relative amenities, I think there are about 8 bathrooms on board. Granted, it's not enough for 120 people, but the SAA crew haven't knocked off. They served all the food that they could. Unfortunately, this morning the food ran out, but we were able to get a cup of coffee for the day. But there are a number of other people on board who have been in different situations that were much harder than this, particularly in countries that are at war or have been at war, where they've described having to wait on tarmacs in airplanes for longer periods of time, sometimes on cargo planes, which are not as comfortable as these ones. It's a bit of a mess now, but if you look down, you see our beds. This is essentially what we have, because it's only 120 people on the flight. We were able to kind of get almost off. So at night we just put up some of the handrails and lay down, have a nap, and of course we have the blankets from SAA here. So it is difficult, but it's manageable at this point. Some food would be nice, but we expect to get that. Last night we were able to arrange food to be delivered to the airplane. They'll probably do the same if there's another delay here. But right now it's going to be interesting to hear the reasons why all of this has happened and what the possible consequences will be for the diplomatic relationship between South Africa and Poland.
So the last time you ate, do correct me if I'm wrong, was breakfast. And so what time is it there, as it is 20 to 2 p.m. here in South Africa?
Yeah, it's the same time in Poland. Not much difference. Should state that our colleague Rianda did manage to find a burger that he stashed last night, so we're able to have some of that this morning just to relieve the hunger pains. Most of the other people weren't able to do so. I think there are still a few snacks laying around here. That's really the least of our problems at this point.
Sure.
We're trying to find out when we're going away from when we're leaving this tarmac, if we're disembarking here or if we're going to make it to St. Petersburg. I think that's the first priority, whether or not we'll be able to cover the final leg of the African peace mission, which is also expected to have a press conference between the African heads of state and the Russian President, Vladimir Putin, where there are a number of important questions that we hope to pose, and also to get some accountability for what happened last night. We have the head of the PPS alleging that one of his members who carries a diplomatic passport was strip searched. That has never happened to the PPS before. In South Africa's history, it certainly would be unprecedented, and someone would need to be held accountable for that. Major General Wally Rhoda alleges that there's racism behind it. So there are serious incidents that have taken place here for which accountability is required. We're uncomfortable at the moment, but we'll get past that. Right now, we're just trying to.
Okay. All right, Govan, you do stay safe out there. Thank you very much for that report. And if you just caught the tail end of that, that's Newzroom Africa's Govan Whittles. He is part of a media contingency from the African continent who are stuck on a South African Airways plane in Poland. They are meant to be tracking the movements of President Cyril Ramaphosa as well as the presidents of Zambia, Comoros and Senegal, but unfortunately they have not been given the clear alongside the Presidential Protection Services of Cyril Ramaphosa to disembark and do that which they have been sent there to do. As you would have heard, or if you missed it, running out of food. Rather uncomfortable, but Govan Whittles soldiering on and saying at the heart of it there needs to be accountability because they're still not clear what is going on, whether they're going to be sleeping on that plane 24 hours after landing there or whether they'll be taken to an airport. So this is a very fluid situation. At the same time, the presidents of Uganda, Egypt, as well as the Republic of Congo, having pulled out at the last minute of that mission, they did not go to Ukraine or Russia. So do stay with Newzroom Africa as we continue to track developments around this developing story.